What's going on? It has been forever, I know. Obviously, we had COVID. We had some other things that popped up. We moved facilities. Thank you to Mike O'Donnell at Clearwater Porsche. They moved into a new facility over here, formerly Burt Smith Porsche, Clearwater Porsche now. Brand new facility, awesome inventory. They're giving us a brand new Shark Blue, has like 430 miles on it to go test today. We're gonna go have some fun. So we're gonna do a little different, right? Everybody's already tested this car, but we're gonna city test this. A lot of people have like track tested it. They've done road mile stuff on it. We're gonna do some city stuff. We're gonna see if the Shark Blue has some curb appeal. We're gonna see if the all front trams like everybody complains about. Yeah, we drive older GT3s. I doubt the new one's tram, but the front handling is supposed to be great. Obviously, you're gonna get a good review, but needless to say, let's have some fun today, right?
Let's do it. I'm excited.
I am too.
Shark
All right.
Blue.
Damn, it does move. There's no doubt about that. Factory exhaust actually sounds good.
Yeah, this one sounds good.
So first impressions, been driving for less than 5 minutes, sitting at a light for longer. It's fast. I mean, that's full auto. It's in PDK car, obviously, but
Still comfortable though. Even full trim.
yeah, not buckets, but sport seats. Very comfortable.
What do you feel about size-wise? Do you feel
You know, actually, as funny as it sounds, I know, like, actually, physically, this car is bigger than the 991 Gen, but I don't know if it's maybe my seat positioning, but I feel like I actually have better viz in this car than I did in the 991 GT3. I actually feel I have, like, equal viz that I do in the 997 GT3.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned about that when we got in this. I was actually worried because my last impression with the 991.2 GT3 RS was that it I felt like it sat on my back.
Yeah,
But I don't feel that about this car, at least not yet. But again, that could be driving positions. And also it could be the seats because these are sport seats. Maybe they sit a little different because I was in carbon buckets in the 991.2. You and I talk a lot offline about this, about the color, and I think a lot of people shied away from Shark Blue initially because they're like, it's the launch color, and I think a lot of people think that's like a trendy thing to do and they don't want to do. I think everybody who bought one, that owns one, is probably regretting that because we've traveled a lot to the Porsche stuff that happens all over the US, sometimes internationally. And yes, initially, I think it's that impression that there's a lot of that color, but I think that has to do with social media because it's the new car, it's a press car, everybody's putting it out there and it gets a lot of attention. But after all of that dies down, you don't see a lot of the launch color that much. Hence, example, the lizard green in GT3 RS, they were like everywhere initially. And then we never see one hardly ever now. That's one of the things that's unique about this dealership too. They're one of the few Porsche dealerships that actually has inventory.
It isn't about they're buying back a lot of customer cars.
Yeah, but just so they have inventory, actually static inventory, not like an imaginary, hey, just look at some stuff on the internet. We showed up today and there's two 992 GT3s for sale. A black one, manual with carbon buckets, and then the Shark Blue launch color PDK car, very well optioned car. Both of them for sale right now. And then not to mention some of the other cool stuff there. You know, they have a 2019 Turbo S for sale. Just really, really cool cars. Talk about stats while we're sitting in Saturday city traffic, right? Because that's what we're doing. But we're battle testing this thing to see how livable it is. That's actually what this particular review is supposed to be for this car. Yeah, is it physically enough? Can you handle this car daily? Is it too much? Because let's be honest, let's address the elephant in the room and just put it to bed. It's expensive.
Well, yeah, that's the market.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying but if you're gonna spend 300 plus on a car, you wanna make sure that if you want to daily it, you could.
Does it do more than the driver?
Exactly. Could it is it more than just a toy for the weekend? If you want to get your money out of it? I say so far yes, especially in this spec. You agree, don't you, that I think the move is actually the PDK?
I think so. I think it's more engaging, right? At this point,
for the newer cars.
For the newer cars, yeah.
And meaning 991 and up, actually, where everybody's like, well, I think I should get a manual. I think I should get this. I get that, but I think a lot of people dismiss the fact that other than just having a manual for a newer car, it's not just the manual.
I would say that I feel like the 991s, I'm super versed. I still have a manual in the 991, but I feel like this, maybe it's just what they've done with the 992s. I feel like the manual could be a little bit muted versus the PDK.
Yeah.
And I think probably comes down to gearing and everything else, but this feels properly quick.
Say you own this car for 10 years, you're probably maybe doing one track day a year. If you're being honest with yourself, if you're being truthful with yourself.
I think if I'm spending $300 plus for it, it's going to see the drive a little bit more.
Yeah, or daily duty. My point of bringing that up is you're going to spend majority of the time in it actually doing what we're doing today in it. Spending the unfun miles, I guess, if you want to call it, the stop and go, a couple moments of spirited blasts here and there. I think 90% of the life of the car is going to be in something like that. But I don't know if it's my seating position. I don't know. In these GT3s, I feel like actually, and I know it's not the case because they're the same car, but I feel like this is a tighter cabin than it is in a 992 Carrera S that we've driven.
Yeah, maybe it does. I would say that it does feel a little bit more cozy. The seats feel more like your 964 Conference.
Yeah.
In a strange way.
I don't think you're not missing anything without sport buckets. I mean carbon buckets. I think there's so many people that feel like you have to get those. But just because it doesn't have it, I don't think you should roll the car out as an option to buy.
No, I don't think it does. I hope not getting it at that point.
If I own this, I would drive it as much as possible. Yeah. Because it's a new car. It has all the new tech, and it's PDK. That's a nice part. So for all you big city people like Miami, we are turning into a better metropolis. LA, Chicago, New York, any of those places, somewhere in Texas, Dallas. PDK, you shouldn't even be considering, if you want to somewhat drive the car on a regular basis, you shouldn't even be considering manual, I don't think.
I mean, it's the difference. I mean, the manual is super, if you're going to compare it to the older stuff, manual is easy to drive. But I'd say it's even just that fact of not even having to shift is that much easier.
It's definitely powerful. There's no doubt about that. How do you feel about that exhaust note? I feel like that's pretty good from the factory, actually.
It sounds pretty good. And they do have those, the DPF still.
Yeah.
The fake ones, and it still sounds good.
It's been a long time since I've been in a bone stock GT3 of any generation without exhaust.
Yeah, but I think also they've tuned, just like they've done with the 4Ss, GT4s, the intake noises. I think that's that makes
it's a big one.
Difference.
Steering is super sharp. Wow, do you feel that? Yeah. Look at those are just little inputs.
Yeah.
I say Porsche's got a pretty good job of this electric steer down. I mean, it's not a hydraulic, but I mean, this thing has a lot of, it feels weighted. It doesn't feel very computer-like. So rear view, obviously, constantly blocked by the wing. I don't mind it. I think it's a sexy look. I'd rather look at that than some other, like, whatever make and model that's, like, trailing us in the rear view. I'd rather look at the wing.
Well, I do know I had blinded by headlights, too. That's simple.
Let's grab a gear here. We got a little turn. Yeah, man, this thing is planted. That quarter window's worthless, though. I'll tell you that. Visibility out of that thing is nothing. Not that that matters. You're going to be in front of everything anyway. So let's talk stats. Everybody always talks stats about this, right? 510 horsepower.
346 foot-pounds.
Yeah. 3125 on curb weight. That's pounds. Still pretty light. How they achieve that is obviously a lot of carbon fiber and aluminum into this body, even though it's much bigger. How do you feel about the suspension? We're in track, the harshest suspension you can be in. Does it feel unlivable?
No, feels just
Even in track? No? I don't think so either. Would you spec this color, or is it too much, you think? Is it too loud? Meaning like in your face?
Exactly the same way if I was going to go shark blue. Because with the shark blue trim and the deviating stitch, and even with the comfort seats, I think this might be the move for sure.
Good on Porsche. It's programmed to get you in the highest gear as quickly as possible when you're driving in the normal setting. A, for noise compliance, and B, for gas mileage. So I did forget about that. So right there, we were going 40 miles an hour. We were in 6th gear. I mean, it was trying to get us there as quickly as possible. How do you feel about that?
I don't mind it. I mean, if I'm getting my money's worth now. If I'm just dealing this thing in normal mode.
Yeah, if you're just cruising, right?
It's not costing me 13 miles a gallon. Like we're doing all right.
And you have the wheel of death right here, meaning like you can put this thing in kill mode anytime you want. So if you have somebody messing with you, just right here, bam, ready to go. I like how these new steering wheels feel, actually. I thought they'd feel like more chunky than they do, but they don't. This feels actually really, really good.
So something to note for the suspension, we have sport and track, and that's it.
Yeah, actually shockingly good. Very Turbo-S cushy, believe it or not. I mean, it's still a GT car, don't get me wrong, but yeah, the downshifts are not as harsh. That's the big thing. Because you notice that even in track mode where it's on auto, it's like boom, 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 boom. Like you said, it's violent. I like it. Who wouldn't like this though? Unless you're like dead inside.
It's okay. Cover.
Captain Chill.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
A little bit of a throttle movement.
Exactly.
Very
It's different than the other PDKs.
Be in 7th gear before no time.
What did it sound like outside the car when we did the launch? Want to see if it'll let me launch it?
In here? I mean, you got one, you better get back here.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to launch it.
Yep.
Come down. Sound good?
Pretty loud.
Okay.
It was louder than, I mean, this is obviously sound down to
Yeah.
the nth degree.
Yeah, because inside it's, I mean, it was quick though. I mean, it's, go left and right.
But yeah, it's still loud. With a proper exhaust, it'd probably be insane.
Yeah, be deafening,
Oh yeah,
cup car style.
100% sure of that.
Cup car. So you just Just left your beach house.
Yep.
Now you're just chilling, right?
Just hanging out. I'm excited to actually like feel this stuff on bumpy roads and like the normal day to day.
That's in normal, dude. That's not even in track, and it still responds like that.
I think I don't know. That thing's like it's getting it. If I drop down, it's nice.
So even in normal mode, it'll still get after it, which is cool. I mean, it is a GT3 it's not a Honda Accord, right?
It's true. And you would expect it to be as responsive. I mean, that's a different level.
Anytime you want to switch, you have it on the wheel if you want to switch it too. You know where you're going now for the most part, right? At least kind of.
We'll see. We might get there.
I mean, you know how to get out of here. Like, we're going to take this to the Gandy exit? Okay. I likes it.
Let's think normal mode, maybe. I mean, I don't feel like it's that much different than track outside of the suspension.
Yeah.
As far as responsiveness.
Well, I know you can probably play with this suspension. I know like Farah and those guys always don't like to have it in like track engine, but comfort suspension.
I just feel like, I don't know, this feels different than the black one.
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
Well, you feel it in the steering. It feels darty, like in a good way, not in a bad way, which I was actually shocked by, to be completely honest with you, when I drove it. I didn't think it'd be that responsive and that twitchy. I mean, I know it's a brand new GT3, but I mean, it's literally like razor sharp.
Yeah, it's
But maybe that's what that double wishbone, I mean, maybe that's enough difference for the compared to the older GT cars.
It is. And I guess you don't know what you're missing until you have it. We just haven't had it.
Yeah, we're not all Cooper McNeil, right? Like, we don't get to like push the RSR around on a regular basis.
What do you think about this race tech stuff versus?
I like it, actually. I like it.
I think it's like I guess it is a more refined material. I guess time will tell how wear.
Yeah, if it wears any differently, or I'm sure it does pretty well with the wear. I mean, it's what I do like how they did these GT3s though, even on the handles, like on the top part there is that race tech, but on the bottom it's actually the ABS plastic. So like like the grabbed part, you know, like on the bottom side where you use all your force to actually open the door, it's not that material, because that's what's going to wear the fastest down in here, because you don't open the door on this top side.
How do you feel for the passenger side now? Is it different?
Yeah, it is different over here. Like I mean, it's like anything, when you're piloting something, it's totally different. Over here, it feels a lot more jarring when you just did what you did. Like, I'm being like thrown around like a lot more.
Earlier, I was like,
yeah. Damn.
It's way more twitchy in the front end. I think people are confusing twitchy with tram.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. I think what they're saying, or what they're feeling, is more responsiveness.
Yeah.
And they're just like, well, it's tramming, it's moving. No, it's just being responsive to like the millimeter movement.
Exactly. I kind of agree with that. Like, only places I experienced that was like when both of the roads were depressed on both sides, and actually the car, it was a track. It didn't matter what car you were in, it was going to run inside that track, and it felt like it was tramming a little bit there. But minus that, I kind of. That's just sport. get in trouble real fast in this car if you're not paying attention. It just, can you imagine this on a mountain road like Cherahalla or something like that? What this would do up there?
I'm jealous of people that own them right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. I feel like I'm driving a tractor in my 997 GT3. Because I mean, you and I talked about this. I mean, anybody who's owns one or has driven one on track or any of that stuff, this may sound redundant already, but the comparison, obviously we haven't had this car on track. The effortlessness of it, like to have this on track must be great. And any of the PDK cars, even the 991s. You're wheeling a lot in a manual car, regardless of it, if it's GT3 or not, because you're pedaling, you're a lot of braking, a lot of, rev matching, you're doing it all. A lot of people love that. I do like that. But when you run a track day, like at Homestead in Miami, where it's hotter than hell outside all the time, something like this is a really, really nice thing to have, because you're not exhausted after the track day.
Not at all.
And I would imagine even in the new manual, it's because it does auto rev match, which some people don't like. I know you can turn that off, but on a track day, that'd be nice. And good brakes. No, I know.
Located them. I did not.
From an aesthetics standpoint, I do like this car has PCCBs.
I know I went this way this morning.
Oh, you want to go up 19? Okay.
So it's a good sound reverberations.
Yeah, this is a good turn too. Fuck, I'm gonna hang on because you're gonna break my neck.
Man, this is.
Yeah. Like you're on a roller coaster.
Deep in that. Oh.
Yeah. And not even pressing it, and that was strong. Should have had the G meter out just for curiosity's sake. Maybe I'll do that on the black one on the way back. I bet that was at least 1 G.
It felt like so we're in sport mode now. So I changed it from normal to sport. I just want to see what the difference is.
Yeah.
It's still, I feel like the engine note's gone up a little bit. Transmission's pretty much acting like it would in normal. Like it's still kicking down just as quick. And holding here a little bit more. So all overall,
I definitely feel like throttle response is stronger from the passenger seat in that, because when you hit it, I could definitely feel the torque like hit way sooner, it feels like.
Yeah, it's a difference for sure. Throttle response, exhaust.
How do you feel about, like, I gave my opinions on city compliance. You're in the driver's seat now. How do you feel about it being compliant on the day-to-day? Like, could it be a daily? Could you use it day-to-day?
I think in this, the expected end daily is all. I mean, it's perfect for that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything else it really needs. Like, I don't think it needs to be any softer, but I don't think it needs to be any firmer either.
Like right now, we're on a rough part of tarmac, and it wasn't even that harsh. Like for some people, they would think that's like super harsh, but that wasn't even that bad.
No. Do you welcome the space in here? Like,
I actually do. It's grown on me a lot. You watch some of our earlier 992s from 2020. I wasn't really in love with the spaciousness, I guess, of the interior.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Mike about it before you showed up at the dealership. It's actually grown on me a lot, and I think it's probably grown on a lot of other people a lot. It feels large, but at the same time, it's not in a way. Because I feel like the areas, I guess it's well balanced with things. If it makes sense to say, it feels tight but open, if that makes sense.
That sports car feel, but yet
Yeah.
open greenhouse.
There's a healthy amount of leg room now, compared to even the earlier ones. Sometimes I really regret putting a cage in my car, but I like the way it looks too. Yeah, I didn't do that when I drove it with the man, like what you're doing right now. How do you feel about that? Like, let's hear your perspective, because
It feels weirdly engaging, and it feels like our cars.
yeah.
from that tightness of the gear shift, like that crispness that you feel.
Yeah.
They've nailed that.
Kind of cool because it looks like a manual transmission, and not that you're trying to fool anybody by any means with that. But it's almost like a, oh my God, that was intense. It's almost like a sequential, right? Like, I mean, it's not, but it. I really regret not playing with that the way you did. I'm glad you're smart enough to mess with it.
I figure we have to take turns on it.
Yeah, good job. It does. It gives that. I'm not even driving it. I'm getting that feel from the passenger seat where it's you're just banging them. So you're thinking, okay, so from a manual standpoint, the way this is positioned, you can do that. Obviously, you can do that with other GT3s as well. But does this feel more engaging because it's set up like a manual?
Yeah, I feel like that's probably the best move they could have done. I mean, I understand people love that PDK or the 991s and the .1.2s, but this feeling like the manual
To be able to like bang at that,
I feel like it's just good. It's more comforting, or I guess more at home look.
Yeah, and we know you can shift it that way also in the 991s. Like, we know you can bang shift it like that, but I feel like the positioning of this shifter is more ergonomic compared to the 991, because I feel like the 991 sits up a little higher.
Exactly.
If you can imagine, it's almost, if you were shifting it like that, it's kind of higher up, right? Like, this is the exact same position where the manual is.
I guarantee you they went, all right, we're going to have this the same exact height. Let's measure it, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Because it's just perfect for elbow resting on the
Yeah, it makes sense,
armrest,
right?
And then you're touching it. I mean, it's enough movement where it's engaging, but not where you're trying to row gears from the stock 911.
So let's do a final wrap up here. So what are some of your big takeaways from this particular gen, so I don't overlap you?
I'd say it's not as big as it feels, as it looks when you're inside of it. The PDK is worth it, and then if you can get a cool color, do that.
Yeah, I agree with all those points. Of course, it's a new car. I was super excited for the opportunity. Big thank you again to Porsche of Clearwater, and big thanks to Mike O'Donnell and his team. Biggest takeaway from it is, since we've been in a 992, Carrera S, base Carrera, 4S. We've driven almost all of them. We haven't driven the GT3. Definitely, as it should be, and it sounds prototypical, the most engaging one of them all. But oddly enough, a more intimate cabin than the other ones, it feels like. I felt way more, I guess it's felt more spacious in the 992, and take that in the Carrera S or the base Carrera, take that for what you will. If you're looking for something like that, then maybe that's your car. But this gave me more of the classic 911 feeling where it felt tight. I'm not exactly sure how they managed to do that, because the body shells are the same. Obviously, seat positioning has a lot to do with it, cabin layout, but I did feel that was my biggest takeaway from it. That I noticed too is it's compliant for daily, and that's kind of what our test was going to be. I actually was going in pessimistic about that. I actually didn't think this thing was going to be very engaging and fun to drive around in the boring stuff and the day-to-day. I would thought that maybe this thing only is a track weapon, because so many like higher level journalists other than us, meaning like Chris Harris and those guys, are like, man, this is just a weapon better suited for the track. Dare I say I disagree with him, actually, because if I had the funding and I bought this could definitely easily go to the office and could go to dinner and go do those things and not feel uncomfortable. I really didn't feel the tramming that people were discussing with it. I actually thought it was razor sharp, like a scalpel. It pointed and shot the way we wanted to do it. I didn't feel like the road was controlling me at all. I was controlling the car, where that's what tramming is, if you don't know. So those are my actual pleasant surprises about it. I was expecting that because so many people before us said that. they were correct about the way it handles through corners. You could take a lot higher speeds, I noticed, with this. And the couple corners and the couple on-ramp turns that we had to be able to use that to get on. And it felt super flat. Very confidence-inspiring all the way through. Never felt that we were in a position where we were compromised. And that probably has everything to do with the double wishbone suspension that everybody talks about.
I think it does. I think
So all in all, it's a win. Yay! So I think it's safe to say, because we're heading on our way back to the dealership, didn't want to ruin it at the beginning because the weather's kind of been like playing with us. So we're actually going to do a big long video. So we're not going to say goodbye.
Yeah.
So we're going to say a versus. So no one's done this yet on YouTube. Like, yes, they have driven them separately, but I don't think they've ever driven them back to back in the same video. So we are going to do that now. Head back to the dealership, get a 992 with manual transmission, and we're going to tell you, are you missing the manual, or do you want to live with the PDK car? I guess the debate will find out. You guys be the decision makers. Same clothes, same bat channel, but different Batmobile, right?
Exactly.
All right, so we did a switch over, did some beauty shots. We are in the manual 992, all blacked out, black, carbon fiber option pack, and with deviated yellow stitching, as you can see. So we're gonna tell you the difference between the two, if we like them, which one we think you should buy, and let's get after it and see what this is about. Man, like you said, you've driven this car before. This clutch
Is it weird?
does not feel, coming from a 997 with that super heavy clutch, it feels strange.
Yep.
I mean, you could get used to it. I feel strange in it.
Yep.
It's lighter, like you said, than the Turbo S 996 I had clutch.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to discredit it by saying something horrible about it, like what type of car I would compare this to, but a very lesser, because all the clutches are hydraulically assisted. Let me adjust this so I can see. So far, I like the PDK better. Long pause. Not that I don't feel engaged, but so going back to back, because Aaron and I weren't sure, it is in the exact same position, meaning the shifter for the PDK, where Aaron was bang shifting, and I'm shifting in this exact same position. So they did, Andy and his team, when they developed this, they clearly did that on purpose, in a good way.
Yeah, you're not going
Yeah.
to be able to tone this thing that easy.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I can't
Just
really,
put on the auto blip. That makes you feel,
like a superstar.
yeah, that's where it's at.
I mean, obviously, you should feel exactly the same in the other cars you do here. I'm going to be honest with you, I do not like the way the clutch feels. Or I should say lack of feeling in the clutch. However, if you wanted to daily this and sit in traffic and stop and go, that clutch makes sense, right? Oh. Thing. I'm used to more feedback. like the carbon fiber mirrors. Now I'm looking at the sides of it, the trim on that.
It's a good move.
I mean, when you're on it though, it does feel good. The shifting feels good. Shifter feels great. The clutch, I'm not thinking about it when I'm like hammering down. I just don't like the initial, like, it's such a difference. And it's not fair because to compare something it's 15 years newer to what we drive, I mean, our clutches are, you get a calf workout in those cars.
You want that now.
No, it makes total sense why it is what it is. And it's totally just personality. I'm just got to get used to it. And then even in like Cody's Carrera T, like he said, very similar. All the new clutches are like this, which is fine. I mean, just getting used to it, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
So obviously all the same things are the same, the steering, the feels. Would I, only being in this car for 2 or 3 minutes, would I prefer this over the PDK? I guess it depends, right? Like that's always the answer, it depends. It depends what you're gonna do with the car. If you're going to spend a lot of time tracking it, maybe, PDK, right? If you're just gonna probably, what most people do with them, not even hardly drive them, maybe manual, right? Like because it has that wow factor, you're able to row the gears, it has that excitement where you're not gonna daily it. We talked a lot about dailying the other car. I really don't think I would daily this even if it was a manual. You could, because it has all the same creature comforts, it has all the same like infotainment, all of the same stuff, the compliancy, and it having like a third pedal actually, in my opinion, doesn't detriment it from doing it. But I almost feel like the personality of it would be different enough to not daily this car.
Yeah,
if that sounds.
It puts it more, it shouldn't be anymore, but more of a race car category, just in my mind.
Yeah. And we thought this car had carbon buckets. We stand corrected. We're sorry. It does not.
Carbon fiber trim.
Yeah. So we thought we were going to be able to compare the two of those, but we cannot. But we've been in carbon buckets before. We get it. Talked about color and curb appeal on the last one. This car being all black, blacked out, very, very under the radar. Do you feel special enough at that price point with this? Or does it not matter because it's a manual and then it's like totally different where you're kind of like...
I think the manual's the win here. Color's secondary.
Yeah, I agree with you.
What do you think about intake and exhaust noise? Should be the same stuff, but does it sound different to you?
We're at normal though right now. I mean, we can go to track. Not that much difference, really. I mean, it sounds like when you're on, right? Great car, still the same. All the things are still the same. Definitely different personality because of the manual. I would say the sensation of speed is a lot faster in the PDK car, as it should be. Because if you're not careful, we've talked about it on a prior video when we were in a 3RS, the speed can get away from you real fast in one of those cars, meaning like you can be in triple digits before you realize it. And this manual and other manuals, I feel like you can modulate the speed a little bit better and keep yourself out of trouble with the law a lot more because you're actually having to row through the gears yourself.
You're conscious of what's happening.
Yeah.
Even though you can be in the PDK, it's just different.
It probably doesn't feel any different from your position, does it, over there? I mean, from the PDK?
It's still, I feel like this is more comfortable. I don't know if that would describe it any differently.
Yeah.
I think maybe the normal mode shifting just seems even more.
So you think that the PDK car feels more harsh actually than this? Yeah. It could be, there could be something to that with the violency of it shifting on its own when you have it in an aggressive mode.
Maybe.
Compared to where you or I would shift this, maybe.
What do you feel? The steering feels the same?
Steering feels super tight still, like still feels the same. I'm trying to listen for any like, usually in a manual car you get maybe a lot of clutch chatter or any of that stuff. I'm not getting a lot of that. So this car has pretty good sound deadening for the most part. Not going to get any like gremlins where it feels like the rocks are being turned in like a tumbler or something. Yeah. Touch points are super nice. I thoroughly enjoy the car. I think it's a great car. I find that to be really unique. I'm not surprised that this is the exact same shifter and the same, ergonometry is exactly the same. I actually appreciate that.
Almost the same throw.
Yes.
Well, it's not quite the same, but it's really close.
Now, we talked about this before. We both drive archaic GT3s in comparison as far as years and leaps and bounds where this is at. Do you feel, because you've driven this car, you're going to drive it again, but I kind of want to get your opinion while you're over there. Do you feel like, and don't be too biased and like try to be friendly with it, do you feel like our cars are just more engaging just because it has like less goodies on it, maybe? Like where this car has all this like good suspension stuff and it's a bigger car, so there's more sound deadening, you're more protected from the road. Does it feel like less, I guess, I don't know, like exhilarating, I guess is what I'm looking for, than our cars?
I think it is subdued. And I think that's only because they've done a better job of this GT3 line the same way they did with the GT4 line. That's where it's at. It's not going to be any more aggressive.
Yeah.
Because they have an RS version. And that's where we turn.
Where you get super, yeah.
But yeah, I think our stuff just has no choice but to be more raw because that's just what they had available at the time.
Agree with you. I wonder if that has something to do with the mileage, to be honest. I wonder if that other car is so stiff because it's like 400 miles. This car has 2,000 miles. I don't know, that's not really broken in, but I wonder if it's more broken in, if that makes sense. Because I agree with you, it is. We're in track setting right now, and we just went over the exact same tarmac that we did like 2 hours ago in the other car, and it went over it softer, it felt like. It's the exact same car, exact same settings. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I kind of agree with you that it could be softer.
I mean, it's probably, at least maybe because it's broken in. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, you wouldn't think they could do too much different with the weights are close, like everything. I don't think they would have a totally different suspension for the cars.
Yeah.
That's what I felt initially when I drove this versus the other one.
You could take this for you will if you're trying to compare and which one you should get. You're shopping a new one anyways if you are. I feel it's definitely less strenuous than any other earlier manual GT3. So there's something to be said where it's less harsh on you.
I think there is a win for that, for doing a hard track day, but then having the niceties and comfort that it provides outside of that.
Still just as darty. I mean, I'm watching you slide around over there. Definitely special car for sure. I do like all of the carbon fiber accents on this car compared to the other one. I like the way the other one was spec'd too. Totally different interior specs.
That could be more different. One's really shit. Like it's two dichotomies of cars. One's super shouty and the other one's...
Yeah, under the radar, like very Darth Vader stealth mode on this car. I mean, you think about it in the GT world. If you're in a GT car and you're shopping like comparable GT cars, obviously, like you have what Pistas in the Ferrari range, you're shopping Performantes or STOs. This is the only manual track-oriented car really left at the higher end. Yeah,
even at 320.
Yeah, at the higher end. I mean, obviously, like there's some other track-focused cars that are not in this category, but I meant at like the GT3 level of precision. So the fact that you're able to order this at a no-cost option at that, if you are able to get an allocation, I could see why people are making that move, especially to the day and age. Like who knows how much longer this will be available, right?
We always say it's the last manual.
Yeah.
There'll be
Maybe the Dodge 2 you could still get the manual, but after that, like who knows what the future holds after that. And I think the nice part about it too is even people that are possibly getting allocations right now, they're being told 2 years out, right? This one's available right now. Like, if this is your spec, if you're Mr. Darth Vader and you like carbon, and you're okay with a little bit of yellow deviated stitching to make a little contrast, and you like manual, I don't know if it gets any better than this, right? Definitely look like you're the Batman in this thing, huh? The Batman.
That's so weird. Why? Oh, you don't track mode. The clutch is heavier.
I still don't notice it being at that heavy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I think that would be even harder to get used to. So we did the switcheroo. Yeah, make a left. The light.
Last time.
Aaron in the manual. Even though he's driven it before. He's driving it on camera now. Oh my goodness. Are you doing the non lift shift or the no lift shift? I'm too scared to do. I know you can do it. I just don't want to do it. I feel like my brain can't do it. So since you've driven this car a lot, give us your synopsis already since you've driven it, your thought points between the two.
I like this more the second time I've driven it.
Okay.
Maybe I just got off the second. But it's still soft.
Yeah.
And I even feel like there's a little bit, maybe it's broken in. There's even a more of a dead space in the steering.
Than the other one? Huh.
I'm not a F1 driver, so I'm not super attuned to things, but I'm getting the same amount of inputs, just like little bits, and it's not as...
You don't feel like it's as sharp?
As darty. Like, it's darty, but not like...
But that's the funny thing is because they're the exact same thing. But that just goes to show you, though, no two cars are exactly the same. So even same gen GT3s can behave somewhat a little different, right? Still sounds fierce, though. So of the two, I think we know which one you'd probably take, but just to confirm, tell us which one you would take and why you would take it for you right now.
This very second.
Yeah, I mean...
Manual, but I just don't think I think there's a lack of engagement between the PDK and the manual. Like even the rev matching, it's still like, it's clutching just like you normally would in heel and toe. But it's not like there's not a feeling behind it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still engaging. But if I had to go like overall, you had to make the decision right now. It's kind of...
Yeah, right. Put yourself in a customer situation. You're going to the dealership. You drive both of these cars. They're both sitting there. They're both for sale. Which one do you buy?
PDK.
Okay.
Even though I might sharp blue, I like sharp blue color, that more. Now this the black and PDK.
Still be interested?
Still be interested.
Okay.
I don't think it sways me in any way. But
Yeah.
yes, I think that whether or not the suspension is actually different, not different, we both have in track modes. There's just a different feeling to this car from to that car.
Yeah. and earlier we said we hadn't driven a 991.2 manual. I totally forgot. We drove our buddy Foster's Voodoo Blue. There's a video that we've done a couple years ago. If you find it in our our store or whatever, our data log of stuff, it's there. So we have driven it. I didn't forget how that was. That car felt great. I'm actually going to shock everybody. Everybody thinks I would take the PDK car too. I really love the PDK car. I love the looks of it. I love the sensation of speed it creates. But I actually would buy this. I would buy the manual because as much as I like that shouty color, believe me, I love all the colors. I feel like the trend of the 992 is to have a flashy color. So I almost feel like if you have like more of a subtle one, you're actually more in vogue than you are if you have a PTS one, because I feel like the abundance of the PTS, and I know that was a launch color, not PTS, but meaning shark blue, I just feel like there's a lot more color out there, which I do like, but I don't know if I would want to join that crowd with the color. I kind of like the Darth Vader spec on this. This thing looks pretty cool. At first, I wasn't really in love with it. It was just kind of hidden there. But the more time we spent with this car, the more time Aaron was shooting rollers and we're looking at the car and I'm seeing it there, I thought, actually, this is more a cooler spec, I think. I like the carbon touches. I like how, because there is a lot more black on this car, meaning like the anodized part of the wing where it holds up the wing, the front bumper has that black two-tone that's been such a heavily discussed issue. The rear diffuser's black. This has a carbon roof on it. I think it blends really well with just the black. Like, it just presents itself really well in my opinion. And I think longevity-wise, like I said, I wasn't in love with the clutch, but I could learn to live with it. I think that's more of a personal thing. Like, that's a me thing. I like the manual car more long-term because I know I would get in more trouble with that PDK car, meaning because I feel like I'd be pushing the limit a lot more because I'm not focused on maybe, hitting my revs and all that kind of stuff properly in the manual as I just let the PDK do its thing. So yes, I think I'd be faster in that car, but I think I would enjoy this one more long term.
And something I just had thought about too is with the way this feels, the manual's way more accessible to more people versus having to really have a heavy clutch or be burdened with that. It's not a burden anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely a lot easier. I'm so used to a heavy clutch, I didn't even know where the engagement was. I stalled this car twice. It's not for not lack of being able to drive. All my cars are manual, so it's not that. They're just, 700-pound calf press on my clutches in both of my cars. All in all, I mean, you heard the differences. You guys be the judge. Tell us in the comments what you guys think and why. Which car do you think is better? And not just from an aesthetic standpoint. Tell us which one you would have, PDK or manual. I'd actually be curious to see why. People are going to say, and don't post in the comments of like, well, I'm going to track mine, I'm do this. We talked about this earlier in the video. Very few people are going to be able to spend the amount of track time these cars are really supposed to have. So maybe, yes, you're faster in the mountains, yes, all those things. But probably the day-to-day, you're going to get more fun out of the manual. That's my opinion. If you disagree, let me know. If you agree, let me know. Want to thank Porsche of Clearwater once again for the opportunity. Again, I don't think anybody out there is doing a versus. We did a versus in the same video. Maybe separate videos are doing it. I don't know. I don't really consume a lot of content anymore. But you guys let us know. Did you like what we did here? The comparison all in one video? Or no? I think we made some valid points. We didn't go too redundant on what we said earlier with the PDK car, because pretty much a lot of the things are the same, minus the manual. Aaron's really trying my ability to close here. But remember, like, comment, share, all those things. I know we haven't posted a video in a while, but this is a big one with the verses. We'll see you on the next one.